Welcome back. Today, we're diving into a principle that is absolutely central to the modern PMP. Principle number 6, demonstrate leadership behaviors. Now, this isn't about some fancy title on your business card. Nope. It's all about what you do, the actions you take to rally your team and make things happen. So what does that really look like, both in the real world and, when you're staring down a tricky question on the exam? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this one. First, we're going to get right to the core of the principle, the real what and why behind it. Then we'll get practical and look at the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of how you actually apply these behaviors. After that, and this is super important, we're going to uncover the common traps and those sneaky exam distractors designed to trip you up. And to finish it all off, we'll give you a clear, actionable strategy you can take right into the exam. The whole time, just keep this one idea in mind. Leadership is earned, not given.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, the core. Before we can even think about mastering this, we got to get a handle on what it's truly asking. Why is this idea of demonstrating leadership suddenly such a massive deal for project managers and the PMP exam?
So the official principle itself sounds almost too simple, right? Demonstrate leadership behaviors. That's it. But whoa, don't let that simplicity fool you. The real power is what's underneath, this idea of shared responsibility. And let me tell you, this is a huge mindset shift the exam is testing you on. It's saying, hey, leadership isn't just the project manager's job anymore. PMI wants to see that you get it, that anyone on the team can and should step up and lead, whether it's through vision or just through empathy. It's a totally different, decentralized way of looking at how great projects get done.
So why does this one principle get so much screen time on the exam? Well, it's because everything connects back to it. For starters, it's a massive piece of the people domain. But more than that, it perfectly captures that new PMI mindset, influence over authority. And this isn't just some academic theory. It's a direct response to how we all work now, with remote teams, hybrid teams, where that old top-down management style just flat out fails. And that's why it's the secret key to unlocking so many exam scenarios, whether they're about resolving conflict or fostering psychological safety.
All right, so we've got the what and the why down. Now for the fun part. Let's get practical and talk about the how. I mean, what specific behaviors does a modern project leader actually need to show up with every single day? Okay, check this out. This taxonomy breaks it down into 7 key behaviors. It all starts with the big picture stuff, right? Having a clear vision and purpose. That's your North Star. Then you've got the people skills, and these are huge. Emotional intelligence and embodying that servant leader mindset. You're there to support the team, not the other way around. Now, the absolute linchpin here, the thing that holds it all together, is influence without authority. It's all about earning trust, not flashing a title. And when you nail that, it unlocks the final 3. Being adaptable, creating psychological safety so people feel safe to speak up and even fail, and ultimately, true empowerment, where your team really owns their work.
So, we've just seen what great leadership looks like. The ideal picture, right? But here's the catch. The PMP exam is a master at testing whether you can spot the fake. And that brings us to our next crucial step, identifying those common leadership traps. Because trust me, on this exam, knowing what not to do is every bit as important as knowing the right move.
This table right here, this is your guide for seeing through the exam's tricks. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Look over on the right at the distractors. What's the theme? It's all about using formal power, focusing only on tasks, avoiding the tough conversations, and just escalating problems. Now look at the effective actions on the left. It's the total opposite, isn't it? It's all about building trust, leading with empathy, and empowering your team to solve their own problems. So here's the simple rule for the exam. If you're ever stuck, just ask yourself, which option is more collaborative and empathetic? That's almost always going to be your answer.
I love this visual because it shows how this all works together like a well-oiled engine. You see, it doesn't start with barking orders. It starts with the fuel, active listening and empathy. That's what builds the first gear, trust. Once you have trust, you can shift into the next gear, which is creating that environment of psychological safety. And only when that environment is secure can you hit top speed, the final output where your team is fully empowered and takes complete ownership. It's the perfect illustration of why that old command and control model is broken. Your job isn't to be a dictator, it's to be the engineer of the right environment.
Okay, this is what we've been building towards. We have all this fantastic context, but how do we turn it into a concrete strategy for the exam? How do we make it repeatable? Well, this final section is exactly that. It's your playbook for tackling any leadership-based situational question the exam throws at you.
Here it is, the first action protocol. You need to burn this into your brain. When you see a question that asks, what should the project manager do first? This is your 4-step sequence. Step 1, always, is understand. That means listen, investigate, find the real root cause. Don't just react. Step 2, use secure the environment. Make it safe for people to talk openly. Create that psychological safety. Step 3, you empower. Notice you don't solve the problem for them. You empower the team to find the solution. And finally, step 4, you model the behavior you want to see. And that pro tip at the bottom, that is pure gold. Your fastest path to the right answer is to immediately eliminate any command and control options. Just cross them out. Then lean into the answer that reflects servant leadership and empowerment.
So, if you take just one thing away from all this, let it be this. Project leadership has nothing to do with being in charge. It is all about creating the conditions for your team to do their absolute best work. It's about inspiring trust and then enabling that high performance. In our next explainer, we're going to tackle principle number 7, tailoring based on context. If this playbook was useful for you, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching.
Learning reinforcement.
Many experienced project managers fail the PMP exam for one simple reason. They rely on their real-world corporate titles to solve problems. To pass the 2026 exam, you have to internalize principle number 6, demonstrate leadership behaviors. The Project Management Institute defines effective leadership strictly through consistent actions. It has nothing to do with your rank or position on an organizational chart. This requires a deliberate shift in how you view the project team. These critical leadership behaviors can and should be demonstrated by anyone in the group. The traditional command and control hierarchy is gone. Your role is to foster an interconnected network where shared leadership thrives. Notice the connections between these nodes. Those relationships are the core of the exam's people domain, tested extensively. Modern projects operate in environments that are increasingly hybrid, remote, and cross-functional. You rarely have direct oversight of every individual. The exam uses situational questions to test how you respond to sudden drops in team motivation, to heated interpersonal conflicts, and unexpected changes in project scope. In an environment where you lack direct oversight, positional authority simply does not work. Behavioral influence becomes your primary tool for driving project success. Let's look at the 7 specific behaviors the PMI requires you to demonstrate. This leadership blueprint maps them out. The first vector is vision and purpose. You must continuously communicate the core why behind the project so the team maintains alignment when challenges arise. The second is emotional intelligence. This requires the dual ability to regulate your own stress under pressure while demonstrating genuine empathy toward your team. Third is servant leadership and integrity. You put the team's operational needs ahead of your own, always maintaining strict ethical standards and transparency. Fourth is influence without authority. Instead of relying on mandates, you leverage the trust and relationships you have built to motivate individuals. Fifth is adaptability and resilience. You must maintain team effectiveness even during periods of high uncertainty and shifting scope. Sixth is fostering psychological safety. You actively create a culture where team members feel comfortable speaking up, sharing ideas, or admitting failures without fear of reprisal. Finally, empowerment. True leadership means giving your team the autonomy to make decisions and take absolute ownership of their work. Mastering these 7 vectors shifts your role entirely. You operate as a strategic facilitator rather than a task dictator. On exam day, your natural corporate instincts will work against you. The test makers exploit those instincts by burying incorrect answers in familiar-sounding management jargon. We call this the command and control trap. It is a series of wrong answers designed specifically to penalize traditional top-down reflexes. This comparative matrix breaks down the trap. Any answer choice that relies purely on formal authority instead of building actual influence is incorrect. When the project falls behind schedule, you will see answers suggesting you step in and micromanage tasks. Those are distractors. The correct PMI action is to empower the team to find efficiencies themselves. If team members are fighting, immediately escalating the issue to HR or a project sponsor is a failure condition. You must apply emotional intelligence to handle the conflict locally first. You will also be tested on the popularity trap. Avoiding difficult conversations just to keep team morale artificially high is heavily penalized. A true servant leader confronts issues with transparency and integrity. Recognizing these red flag distractors will consistently allow you to eliminate 2 out of the 4 multiple choice options immediately. To solve those remaining 2 options, we use a repeatable heuristic specifically designed for questions regarding motivation, change, or conflict. This flowchart outlines the situational conflict algorithm. Questions asking, "What should the project manager do first?" require strict adherence to this chronological sequence. Step 1 is assess. Your very first action must always be to listen actively and use empathy to identify the true root cause of the issue. Step 2 is stabilize. Once the cause is known, demonstrate emotional intelligence and re-establish psychological safety before making any moves to fix the problem. Step 3 is resolve. Facilitate a collaborative solution by empowering the team to solve their own problem. Do not force a top-down fix. Step 4 is sustain. Lead by example to maintain the ethical integrity of the new solution borne forward. The most common way candidates lose points on situational questions is by selecting an answer choice from Step 3 before completing Step 1. You cannot resolve a conflict before you assess the root cause. When you find yourself in doubt between 2 choices, apply this rule. The correct answer will heavily favor servant leadership over command and control. The PMP exam operates as a highly predictable logic system. Memorize this 4-step algorithm, and you can decode the entire people domain. You now have a framework that replaces formal authority with behavioral influence and a precise algorithm to navigate situational conflicts. As this completed network shows, project leadership is an active, continuous demonstration of behaviors that inspire trust and enable performance. Check your real-world biases at the door and avoid the command and control traps when you set for the exam. Now that you know how to leverage behavioral leadership, the next step is learning how to modify these approaches depending on the specific environment of your project. In Episode 7, we will cover principle number 7, tailor based on context. If this strategy helped you, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the rest of the 2026 PMP exam series. Mastering these principles builds the bridge from test candidate to elite project manager. Thank you for watching,